In today's video, we're going to be installing this front camera that'll pair greatly with the MMI Prime using the USB AV harness. Stick around because I'm going to show you guys how to get this thing installed correctly. Here's a recommended list of tools that you should use for the project. When you get the kit, it'll include a camera, an L bracket, extension cables, an inline fuse, some heat shrink, and the necessary video connections that you need. And in this video, you'll see the easy plug and play process with your MMI Prime. To get things rolling, let's pull the hood release latch 2 times. Let's lift the hood up. Then we'll remove the panel near the driver's side windshield, turning 3 10mm bolts 90 degrees counterclockwise. Then we'll set it out of the way. Next, underneath the driver's side dashboard, there'll be 2 10mm nuts that we have to remove. Then we'll set those aside, and the panel will be easy enough to remove with your hands. Just gently pull down, and it'll pop free. Then let's disconnect the speaker and the LED light that's built in. Go ahead and set that panel aside, and then you'll see an oversized rubber grommet that goes through the firewall into the engine bay. This will be our access point where we'll run the camera cable through. Grabbing a drill and choosing one of the notches that are already there, I will drill a hole carefully as not to make any contact into any cables. Then you're going to want to use some type of push or pull rod. One option that I learned from Russ, our veteran installer, are these oversized zip ties that you can grab at your local hardware store. Now we'll grab our extension cable and we'll tape it on the other end. With the small connector first, we'll go ahead and we'll grab some electrical tape and tape it on. Now we'll carefully pull it through to the engine bay. We're going to follow the same path that these existing cables are going, so continue to feed it accordingly. Now we'll remove the bumper. Start by turning your steering wheel in to get better access to the bolts. Grabbing your 8mm socket, we'll have 5 bolts that we have to remove, one of which is hiding behind the wheel well fender. You'll have to use one hand to hold back the wheel well to gain access to that last one. Once removed, go ahead and do the same to the other side. Then, underneath the car, you'll have to remove the 6 plastic fasteners and 8 8mm bolts in order to release the bumper completely. With the plastic fasteners, first pry away the lock pin, and then the fastener should come free afterwards. Then go ahead and remove the 8mm bolts. Then remove the weather stripping, so then you can remove the T25 bolts that are holding the bumper in place. Now we can carefully remove the bumper, taking our time and setting it down slowly. To get the camera set up, you'll first need to grab the rubber O-ring that came in the kit and set it into place just like so. And depending on the orientation of how you have to mount the bracket, you'll choose either the top, middle, or bottom side to thread the camera cable through. Then, grab your 3mm Allen bolt, an Allen key that came in the kit, and set that in place. Once properly tightened, you can go ahead and attach the 8mm nut and lock the camera into position. It doesn't need too much torque, and you're all good. The camera comes with a tension ring that you can use if you have the sport grille. It also has some rubber washers to snug it into place. For this application, we won't be needing them, so we can remove it. We'll set it aside and put the cover back on. Now, we'll find the middle spot on this plastic panel here that we're going to mount the camera L bracket to. Grabbing a 1/8 drill bit, we'll go ahead and make some pilot holes using the drill bit on the centermost part of this panel. Then we'll dry fit the camera setup, making sure it's straight, and mark the L bracket for pilot holes as well. Off camera, I'll go ahead and I'll drill out the holes. Then we'll grab the self-drilling hex head sheet metal screws that we grabbed at the hardware store and secure the camera into position. You want the camera bracket to be sandwiched between the metal and the plastic panels behind. Now we can go ahead and grab the heat shrink and connect the camera to the extension cable. Make sure your pins are aligned correctly. Make the connection. And then slide the heat shrink over the connector and grab your heat gun. When that's finished, go ahead and dress your cable up using zip ties, following the path that the cable took through the engine compartment. With everything nice and neat, we can go ahead, get to the MMI Prime box, and do a test connection to make sure that everything's functioning properly. If you haven't installed the MMI Prime yet, there's a link in the description to see the installation video. Then we'll grab our camera cable jumper and start connecting it. First, let's start with a serial connection. Which then converts to a video cable and inline power cable that'll connect with the MMI Prime. Just make sure you're looking at the labels accordingly, that'll say front camera. And if your USB AV harness isn't already connected, go ahead and connect it now. Then we'll dry fit the MMI Prime. We'll turn on the vehicle. Then we'll press and hold the option button for at least 3 seconds and it should engage the front camera. Seems like it's working fine, so we'll go ahead and we'll permanently run the cable through the dashboard. With the cable ran through the dash permanently, we can now make all the final connections. Then we'll work our way back to putting the dashboard back together. With all that put into place, we can go ahead and grab the excess cable and dress it in underneath the dashboard. Then we'll put our kick panel back in, connecting the speaker and the LED light and snapping it into place. Then we'll attach our bolts back, put our engine compartment panel back on, and lastly, we'll put the bumper and all the screws it needs back into place. With everything put back together, now we can go ahead and test the camera. Looks great. So, what other video tutorials are you guys looking for? Let us know down in the comments section below.
Once again, guys, my name is Chaz. Thanks for sticking around and watching this video. If you happen to have any questions, let us know in the comments.